I promise you that the irony is not lost on me that we're having an event that we call opening of court when we're literally having to restrict the number of people in the courtroom. So I don't need to tell you, everyone knows what an unusual year it's been, what a trying year it's been. And Judge Beard did a great job. I appreciate his explanation of the history of the opening of court. And those of you that have been here understand this is very different circumstances. Usually there are people lined along the wall. It's open to the public. There's food afterwards. There's all kinds of social events surrounding it. And so I appreciate your patience, as you can tell from our invocation, and you'll see some other components of the program today. We're having to be adaptable. We're having to be flexible and do things a little different. Someone asked me the other day, I was talking to another attorney and I was explaining how we were going to go about doing this live streaming, and we're going to have some pre-recorded parts of the presentation, and the person asked the question, well, why are you even doing it? Like, shouldn't you just cancel it? And I think that's a legitimate question. First I kind of was a little bit taken aback because I'd put a lot of work into getting this thing going. I know we all have. And but then I thought about it, and I've had the fortune in my career of learning under Charlie Weems, our last year's Cassiticus Award winner. And early on in my career, one of the things Charlie did, I remember we had a case and there was, I don't even remember what it was, maybe some discovery or a deposition, something I wanted to do. And, we've got a right to do this, we need to do this. And he stopped and said, why are you doing that? And I said, well, because we can. And he said, no, but what good is it going to serve? What purpose is it going to serve? And I've tried to take it into the rest of my life as I do things. Sometimes we do things because we can. And so I think it was a very legitimate question to say, why are we doing this opening of court this way? And so we called a meeting of the executive committee, and we talked. It was a valid option to just cancel and wait until next year, or at least postpone it indefinitely. And I can't speak, it was a unanimous vote by the committee to go ahead in the fashion that we're doing it. And I can't speak for the other members of the committee. They all had their own reasons, but I can tell you what my reasons were. I know, to me, first of all, the thought of awards and recognitions that we do on an annual basis, that seemed very sad, and it seemed a little bit maybe a derelict of my duty as president to do that. I think we have an obligation to continue our traditions to the extent we can in a safe manner. So as you're going to see today, we have some very prestigious awards and acknowledgments that we're going to make, and I think it was important for us to do that. But the second reason was I think it's just good to come together as a bar and to let the bar know that the judiciary's here, that the Alexandria's bar is here, and to the extent that we're capable, we're going to continue to try to serve you in a safe way, and we're going to continue to try to do that this year. So what that means for today is that things, as you can already tell, many of you were probably, last year if you came, you were sitting in here in a suit and tie, you were sitting on a hard wooden bench, and perhaps this year you're sitting at home in your sweats watching it on your laptop or on your phone. So that's obviously one notable change, and if you were here, your room is much more empty than it usually is. But what we're going to try to do is we're obviously live streaming this. Have some live participation. We're also going to have some pre-recorded portion for various reasons. Individuals, whether it be COVID or other safety reasons, couldn't be here. But if you guys will remain flexible with us, I sent out an email, or had my assistant do so, about 15 minutes prior with the program attached. So if you're watching remotely, you should be able to click on that and you can follow along just like you did last year, except now you can do it at home and track and see how far along we are in the proceeding. So bear with us. We're going to try to get this done and do it in the best way possible. But before we go any further, I did want to take a moment, and if I could get, for those of you that are here, if you could give me a round of applause. I want to recognize our last year's president. President this year, and I'll be so until next July. No problem. We're going to be flexible, right? I just said it. We're all going to be flexible. I did want to take a moment and acknowledge and recognize Ronnie Beard, who served as our president last year. Ronnie got the tail end of the pandemic, the last half of his tenure as president. He did a great job. And I know a lot of you know Ronnie, so you know I don't need to tell you. He's a great guy, easy to work with. You know, he was texting me last night, hey, is there anything you need? You know, he didn't have to do anything. He's past president, he's done, but he was still checking in. Really appreciate that, Ronnie, and thank you for all you did. And I would like to give you an elbow bump.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right. The next portion, we're going to have a representative from the Lawyers Council come and introduce the new attorneys that are now practicing in the area for this year. And so this year, the Vice President, Stephen.
Thank you, Jonathan. Judge, judges, elected officials. My name is Stephen Spurgeon. I am the chair-elect for the Young Lawyers, and I would like to recognize the other council members. Chair Tamara Miguez, Treasurer Matt Karate, Secretary Leanne Bridges, council members Katie Price, Lisa Lawson, Kenneth Doggett, Morgan Briggs, Connor Hedrick, Jonathan Cobb, and Matthew Seaton. I have the task this year of announcing all the new lawyers to our area, Alexandria area. And when I say your name, please come forward, and I'm going to read the bio also. Number one is Chaz. Chaz is a corporate counsel contracts for Crest Industries, LLC. Chaz oversees contract-related matters pertaining to Crest and customers and assist in senior counsel on legal matters affecting Crest Industries. Outside of work, he is an automotive enthusiast. Prior to joining Crest Industries, Chaz spent 7 years as an active duty special agent in the United States Air Force, investigating contract and procurement related fraud. He received his BS from Southern Illinois University and his master's and MBA from Mary St. Louis, and his JD DCL from the LSU Paul Hebert Law Center. Next, we have Alicia Grayson. Alicia is from Forest Hill, Louisiana. She received her BS from the University of Louisiana Lafayette in business management with a minor in pre-law. She received her Juris Doctorate from Southern University Law Center. She is currently a law clerk for the Honorable Judge George C. Matoir, Jr. Next, we have Wesley Alex Hooper. In 2017, Alex obtained his BA in pre-law at Louisiana College in Pineville. And in 2020, he obtained his JD in civil law certificate from Mississippi College School of Law in Jackson, Mississippi, where he graduated magna cum laude. During his time in law school, Alex served as the technical articles editor from the Mississippi College Law Review. Alex joins Gold Weems, where he primarily focuses on business law and commercial litigation. Cortland is from Alexandria, where he graduated from Holy Savior Menard High School. Following high school, he attended LSU and majored in political science and minored in business administration. While at LSU, he was a member of the fraternity of Phi Gamma Delta and Phi Sigma Theta National Honor Society. After finishing at LSU, he then attended law school at Southern University Law Center. As a law student, he was a member of the Sports and Entertainment Legal Association and received limited recognition to practice before the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office as a student. Upon graduation from law school, he sat for and passed the Louisiana bar exam administered in July 2019. He currently clerks in the 9th Judicial District Court for the Honorable Judge Mary L. Doggett. In his free time, he likes to fish, read, and watch sports. Next is Lyle Manion. In 2017, Lyle obtained his BA in political communications with minors in history and philosophy at LSU. In 2020, he obtained his JD and graduate diploma in comparative law from Paul H. Hebert Law Center in LSU. During his time in law school, Lyle received the Cali Award in Constitutional Law II and Capital Punishment. Lyle served as vice president of the LSU Law Running Club, senior associate on the Journal of Energy, Law and Resources, and received the Aubrey Bacon Memorial Award. Lyle was admitted to the Louisiana Bar in September 2020 and joined Faircloth, Melton, Sobel, and Bash in August of 2020. Next is Kenneth R. Whittle. Kenneth is a native of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. He received his BA in Political Science from Louisiana State University and his Juris Doctor from Loyola University in New Orleans. Kenneth was admitted to the Louisiana Bar in September 2019. In March, Kenneth joined Boland, Parker, Brenner, Lee, and Miller, where he primarily focuses on insurance defense. Next, we have Taylor Starling. Taylor is a graduate of Alexander Senior High School in class of 2012. After high school, he received a bachelor's degree in finance from the University of Louisiana Lafayette in 2016. Taylor went on to attend the University School of Law and graduated in 2020. Currently, Taylor clerks for the Honorable Judge Patricia Cook at the 9th Judicial District Court. And please excuse the typo on Taylor Starling's bio. Brianna K. Williams. Brianna attended Southeastern Louisiana University for undergraduate studies and graduated from Southern University Law School. Brianna is currently the Judicial Law Clerk to the Honorable Monique F. Rawls. Please join me in giving a round of applause for the new attorneys and welcome them to the bar. Back to John.
Thank you, Mr. Spurgeon. We'd ask now that the names of the new attorneys for the 9th Judicial District Court, that their names be placed in the book of attorneys for the 9th JDC. Mr. Stokes, continue, please, sir.
My understanding is we had some technical difficulties as I was speaking earlier. My phone was buzzing in my pocket. People were saying, hey, it's not working, but my understanding is we've got it fixed now. So if you're just now joining us, welcome. We'll proceed with the opening of one of the things we do every year is we recognize the attorneys that sort of reach their 50-year mark in being admitted to the bar. We have 3 new additions this year. Each are very accomplished in their own right. So we'd like to recognize, if you look in your programs, they've been added. We have Frederick B. Alexius, who was admitted in 1970, Daniel Broussard Jr., who was admitted in 1970, and Eugene J. Sues, who was admitted in 1970. So if we get a round of applause for those 3 gentlemen. The other thing we do every year is we recognize the members of the bar who in the past year have passed on, and we provide, we usually have someone come in and do to recognize them. Given the unusual, this year, in addition to everything going on in the world and in the state of, I've been told that we had a record number of individuals die this year as members of the bar. So that was sort of an unusual thing. And in addition to that, we had Rick Farah, who had passed, my understanding is the previous year, and we wanted to recognize him this year as well. So in total, we had 6. 4 of those individuals, their families requested very, I think, they would like to wait until next year to be eulogized in more, hopefully more normal circumstances. So we of course acknowledge that and understood that. We did have 2 individuals that will be eulogized. Rebecca Alexander and Mr. Mike Davis has agreed to do that. So Mike, if you'll go next. Thank you.
To the honorable judges of the 9th Judicial District Court and to the other judges that are here with us today and all the public officials, thank you for being here, and I hope you'll bear with me as my dear friend. I'm not supposed to do this. It is with much sadness, but with honor, that I come before this to remember Rebecca Alexander. Rebecca and I became the very best of friends, best buds, if you will, during the last 7 to 10 years of her life. We actually known each other many years ago when we were both undergrads at LSU. In the last year of life, we became in many ways inseparable. We were seen at so many public events together around town that most people thought we were an item. And I guess we were to some degree. I even received many condolences and notes of sympathy from friends who knew how close Becky and I had become in the last year, and many even assuming that the relationship had gone beyond friendship. One prominent member of this community expressed that she was so sorry for the loss of my lover. Please don't snicker. As most of you know, misconception or not, Becky and I had great times together. There was rarely a public event in Alexandria that we did not, whether it be the symphony, concerts, theater, art exhibits, art walks, museum openings, you name it, we were there and we were together. We even enjoyed trips together. There was a trip to Philadelphia for a weekend of historical connection with our supper club group, museum exhibits, and plenty of good meals. Then there was another trip to Chicago for a destination birthday party for one of our Sunday night supper club members. Even after Becky was diagnosed with cancer and would undergo debilitating chemo and radiation therapies, it would not be long before she would be calling me and saying, let's go do this, let's go do that. She even insisted that we go to the Couchon de Lait in Mansoura, Louisiana, and then the Corn Festival in Bunkie. It was like wanting to experience everything that she possibly could in what she knew, but I didn't, that she was probably only had a very short time left of life. She even attended an LSU football game at LSU with my friend James Smith and I in the fall of 2018. This, when she vowed that once she left LSU, she would never have to go to another football game. In fact, her words were, when I left undergrad graduation that day at LSU, I went out and kissed the ground around Tiger Stadium, knowing that I would never have to go back there again. But we had a great time. Actually, the occasion for the trip was a party of her college sorority, Kappa Kappa Gamma, which was occurring at that Friday night before the football game at the City Club in Baton Rouge. Good time for Becky. I got to see many of her sorority sisters from her LSU days. Not so much for my friend and I, but we hung in for Becky. Becky always liked to say that she could have fun in a closet. She was always fun, and she laughed easily, and she laughed heartily at my jokes, which of course endeared her to me even more. Sort of like Judge Cook. Judge Davidson, not so much. Oh. So despite her promise never to return to Tiger Stadium as a person who could actually have fun in a closet, she ended up having a great time. There was a photograph taken of the three of us at the game by the guy who sits behind us. From the picture, it was obvious that we were having a great time, and I can assure you it was in no way related to adult beverage consumption. Becky was just fun to be with. Another friend of mine and Becky's actually took the photograph that was taken at that game and made a mug for each of us. And I actually brought this today, thinking that some of you might want to see the photograph on the mug. It personifies Becky perfectly. Gracious, elegant, fun-loving, and enjoying life to this fullest. Becky had a very interesting path to becoming a lawyer. As I mentioned, she received her undergraduate degree from LSU in 1969. She then moved to Houston for a time before returning to Alexandria, where she began the nursing program at LSUA and eventually became a registered nurse. She practiced nursing in the trauma unit of the Charity Hospital in New Orleans for many years. Actually, I was going to say something at this point about that experience, which Becky liked to talk about. But when I ran it by my former wife and critic, Carolyn, she said, "Don't you do that, take that out." So I took her advice. I thought it was funny, but you know, you kind of listen to those who care about you and love you. She practiced nursing in the trauma unit of the Charity Hospital in New Orleans for many years. Nursing, however, no matter how to her, would not be her final career. Becky actually moved to San Diego, California, and graduated magna cum laude from the Western School of Law with her Juris Doctorate degree and passed the California State Bar. And did I mention that she was magna cum laude? In California, she practiced as a defense lawyer in Santa Barbara. Somewhat later, Becky moved to New Orleans and set for the Louisiana Bar after petitioning the Supreme Court for that right. She passed the bar and began practicing with the Alexandria firm of Gold Weems. After leaving the Gold firm after several years, she practiced as an independent lawyer and became a mediator. She was very sought after as a mediator and was very successful. She often reminded me that the only mediation efforts that she failed to reach an agreement were those involving me. I know y'all can't believe it. Early on, after, Early on, after she left the Gold firm, Becky did family law. She and I actually had cases placing us on each other. It never failed that all of Becky's clients were saints, and all of mine were the devil incarnate. At first, I would argue with her about the merits of my case and my client, but it was always to no avail. So eventually, I just agreed with her, yeah, I only recognize the dregs of society. That's my specialty. Becky was a very civic-minded person and extremely conscientious in serving the organizations with which she was associated. She served on the board of the Rapid Symphony Orchestra, the board of the Christus St. Francis Cabrini Foundation, as well as the Community Foundation. As gracious and lovely as Becky was, she did not hesitate to be very direct and to the point when the occasion called for it. On more than one occasion, when Becky and I were either at the movie theater or live theater performance, she would become irritated by people who were talking around her. She did not ever hesitate in turning around and telling them to please be quiet and explain that their behavior was rude and discourteous. As you might imagine, I was mortified. Fortunately, I was able to escape those occasions without getting my ass kicked. Becky was a talker. Ellis Saby tells the story of Becky when he first met her in the second grade at Cabrini Hospital. He sat behind her in the classroom. He said that first day of school, Becky turned around and started talking to him, and Becky never stopped. If you would call her or she would call you, you might as well get comfortable because it was going to take a while. Unfortunately, Becky suffered a stroke when she was taking chemotherapy for her cancer. The stroke adversely affected her speech, and unfortunately, she never did fully regain her ability to articulate as she would like. This was very painful to her. However, never did she lose her ability to fully articulate all of the four-letter words, including the F-bomb. Becky was real. She was smart, she was a hard worker, and she could follow you anywhere on the dance floor. Of all her qualities, she was the best that one could have. She is missed by all of us who called her friend. To Rebecca, we bid you a farewell. Au revoir. Arrivederci. We shall meet again. I move that this remembrance of Rebecca Alexander, assessing that it is not too profane, to be placed on the minutes of this court as a lifeline and lasting memorial to a great lady. Thank you.
thank you, Mike, for those beautiful words as we remember Becky. Next, we have the Honorable Philip Terrell, who's going to give the eulogy for Rick Fair. Mr. Terrell.
Good morning, Your Honors. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. May it please the court. Judge McSwire, you really started in 1984? Ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor and the privilege to eulogize my dear friend Rick Fair. Rick was born February the 12th, 1960. His parents were Terry L. Buddy Fair and Marilyn Price Fair. Rick went to his eternal rest on December the 18th, 2018, after a long bout with liver cancer and after fighting through valiantly a couple months after he received a liver transplant. He was a brave, brave man. Rick survived by his wife and best friend forever and soulmate Dana Fair and their twin sons, Cole. Hunter is now a lawyer practicing in Baton Rouge, and Cole is a wildlife biologist. His mother, his dad, Buddy Fair, died several years before, and his mother, Marilyn Fair, survives him, and his brother Todd, who's also a member of our association, and his wife Teresa, and their children. Rick was a good lawyer, but Rick was a better politician, and Rick was humble and self-effacing. He always knew how to handle any situation. He knew the law, but what he really knew was people. His moral compass was always on track, and since the application of the law is not supposed to have an absurd result, Rick was almost always right, even if he didn't know what the law was like some of us. Rick was great with controversy. Rick was great with people. He could take any situation when people were at odds with each other and do like our friend Becky did. He was a pretty good mediator himself. He wasn't formally trained except by Mr. Buddy. And he was good at solving problems. If y'all remember Rick, he always had a grin on his face and a twinkle in his eye, kind of looked like Santa Claus. He's always smiling, and he just would light up a room wherever he went. Many times I would scratch my head after Rick intervened with people who had problems, and he'd throw his fairy dust on them and everything would be okay. Everybody would step back and take a deep breath and resolve whatever problem that existed. That was his strong suit. A lot of people, it's been a while since Rick was an elected official, but he did a lot for Rapides Parish. He was a state representative for 3 separate terms. And in 1991, I Rick at my law office in Pineville. He and Senator Jay Luno were still seniors in law school at Southern University Law Center. And they came into my office, and Rick said, Jay says, "This is my friend Rick Fair, and he wants to run for state representative." And I said, "Well, this other guy's been there 1,000 years, and he's powerful, and he's, pretty much connected in." Rick said, I'm going to give it a whirl." Well, he won. He won before he got out of law school. He started serving his first year out as state representative. Because of him and because of his predecessors, Judge Chris Hazel, who represented the same district, Highway 71 and Highway 165 is 4-laned. That started with Rick. Pineville City Court and Alexandria City Court, jurisdictional limit was raised from 10,000 to 50,000 to the jury trial limit because of Rick's vision. The concept with that was to take some of the work off of the district court judges and reduce the docket. And as a result of that, I had the tremendous benefit of that, as does my friend Judge Gary Hayes. We had the opportunity over the 18 years that I was served at Pineville City Court to try some real cases with real lawyers. We had medical depositions. It was a great learning experience for me. And Rick did that whole thing. Rick got that done. It was his idea. He worked it through. He pushed it through the legislature. Rick could do anything that he wanted in the legislature. Everybody loved him. Everybody liked him. Those that didn't like him, he maneuvered himself in a position where they had to have him. And he was always that way. Rick fought for his district as state representative. Rick fought for little people. Rick believed in doing the right thing. More than one time, I've seen Rick reach in his pocket and take out his last $10 and give it to somebody on the street corner. You could say anything about Rick. People could be ugly to Rick, and that was okay, but better not let Rick hear anybody being ugly about his family or his friends, or you have a fight. Once Rick came to work in the DA's office at some point after I got elected, and we put Rick over in 4D in the child support enforcement. And there are a bunch of ladies in there who do most of the work. When they were all bickering, Rick got all that solved. Everybody loved Rick. As a matter of fact, every year on his birthday, all 15 ladies over there and his mom and his brother, we meet up and eat fried catfish at his favorite place at Buckets. And that is a tradition that we do, and we're going to continue to do that because everybody who came loved him. He's going to be missed. I miss him a lot. Once, when Rick and I are obviously both love politics. We love being around people, and he didn't run out around Heinsohn in that area, and when he was running, but we went to a fish fry out in the middle of the woods with some really, really fine country people, and Rick had never met any of them, and he had a ball, and everybody loved him, and I was glad that he wasn't running against me. On the way back from that, Rick was sick then, and he told me that that he knew what he had to face and comfortable where he was going. He was comfortable with his faith. He was comfortable with his salvation, and he just didn't know how big his reward was going to be. I can tell y'all how big his reward is, because all he ever did was do his best to help somebody and to make people feel good and do the right thing. I don't really have anything fancy to say about Rick other than he was my friend, and it is an honor to eulogize him. Your Honor, so I would move that these remarks be spread upon the minutes of the court and made part of the permanent record herein.
So ordered.
Thank you, Mr. Terrell. Those are wonderful remarks. As I mentioned, we had 4 members of the bar that passed this last year, and their families asked to be eulogized next year, which we will honor. But I did at least want to say their names. I think that's important. Robert Beck II, Camille Giordano Sr., Alban Provosti III, and Mike Walder. We remember them this morning. The next portion of our program, a few years ago, the bar started a tradition where we recognize a member of the community, a non-attorney, but that had contributed in some way to the legal profession. And in the past, we called it up until this year, we called it the Liberty Bell Award. But we decided to rename the award in her honor. I'm going to let her explain that more. So Allie Nowlin will introduce that.
May it please the court. As Jonathan said just a few minutes ago, the Liberty Bell Award is awarded to those individuals in our community who, while not lawyers themselves, promote a better understanding of the rule of law, encourage a greater respect for the law in the courts, stimulate a a sense of civic responsibility and contribute to overall good government. I am honored this morning to not only rededicate this the Alexandria Bar Association's Liberty of Bell Award as the Debbie Smith Award, but I'm also honored to award it as its first recipient to Debbie Smith and her family. Debbie served as the director of the Central Louisiana Pro Bono Project for over 20 years. During her tenure, she simultaneously raised awareness for the need for pro bono service in our community and then satisfied this need by recruiting and connecting them with individuals who would not be able to afford legal services otherwise. Through Debbie's hard work and dedication to pro bono, she ensured those with little means were able to gain access to justice. Along with her bubbly personality, her brilliant smile, and her impeccable taste for fashion, Debbie will be remembered for her commitment to pro bono and the community she served. Her legacy will be that of ensuring access to justice in our community and will live on not only with this award, but with all pro bono cases we take on. At this time, I would like to invite Courtney, Lacey, and Bruce, her children, to accept the award. You're welcome. On behalf of the Alexandria Bar Association, I would like to, it is my honor and privilege to award Debbie Smith Award to and her family.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We used to tease her and laugh whenever she would have to do something like this because she would be so nervous the night before, and then here we are, standing right here. Mom was an incredible woman, as we know, and we got to see firsthand just how much she touched her community with all of the help that she did for those that were less fortunate. She not only helped them with legal advice, she also, got to know them and mothered them like she did so many of our friends. So many people that we know considered her a mom, and that's what she was. And she was just incredible. So appreciate, on behalf of all of our family that is at home watching right now, that were all panicking when the link wasn't working. On behalf of them, we just thank you for helping us to continue her legacy. Thank you. Thank you.
In your honor, I pass a copy of these minutes for the record.
They'll be so ordered, committed into the record.
I know it's easy, as we all are busy professionals and we are involved in our profession to kind of keep our head down and do the task in front of us. And sometimes it's easy to forget the importance of bono requirement of our profession, and I think our general moral obligation, I guess I would call it, to contribute our professional services to those that can't afford to do so. We also, every year, the Central Louisiana Pro Bono Project, which we appreciate and respect, gives an award to an attorney that has gone above and beyond in their pro bono work. And this year, we have Laura Swanter and Liz White, if you'll come on up, who are going to present that award.
Thank you, judges and officials. Appreciate letting me be here. I had the pleasure of running the pro bono office since Debbie passed away in December. I got hired in March, so I've been there for 8 months. And she definitely did a great job, I can tell you that. So we're trying to carry on her legacy. As many of you know, with the COVID and everything that's happened, we have a lot more now, so any help anybody else out there would be greatly appreciated. But this year, we have to give this award to an individual that really kept the entire office going after Debbie passed away. She stepped in and took over the office and basically kept it running and answered the phone calls, and her office has kept the bills going and just everything. So She never turns down cases. Her caseload is just incredible. Over the years, I've been able to run some reports and just see how much she really does for the organization. But this year's award is going to go to Miss Maria Lasavio for her outstanding work and dedication to the pro bono office and all the years that she's done the work there. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. And Liz, I want to thank,
yes.
I want to thank Laura, who has stepped in. The pro bono board of directors hired Laura, and these two were the ones we were interviewed, and it was a very tough call. Well, it was, you know, a God thing, because it worked out where Laura took over for a little while, got us into a place where we can now pass the baton, because Laura is moving on to another opportunity, a new chapter in her life. But we want to thank Laura for what she's done, because we, the board, could not have kept up afloat much longer. So truly appreciate it, and want to welcome Liz, who we're very excited, and Laura, who's been training her. I think it's going to be a great opportunity to conduct. I am saddened that we're here without Debbie. She was the face, she was the voice pro bono for many years. So, you know, we kept this afloat. You know, we had an opportunity. We said we could shut down Central Louisiana Pro Bono. It's just not going to work without Debbie, because if you know why I take cases, this is why. Debbie would call, and you just cannot tell Debbie no. I mean, you just, you know, she was too sweet. And so, you know, it wasn't an arm twisting, it was just, you know, reaching out, and her networking, her connection to the community and to the lawyers and to the judges and to all the administrative staff is what made it work. I know with these ladies, Liz at the helm now, we're going to be fine. We've got it, you know, we're in good hands. So when Liz calls, pretend it's Debbie for a while and say yes. She's going to be great, but we need it. We need everyone to step up and do it. As we said with COVID, we're actually getting bombarded with more cases. And, you know, opening of court is not a ceremony as it is now. We need to remember it's actually literally opening the doors of the courtroom. We can't remember there are people that have no access to justice, have no access to the legal system. That's what we need to offer in every capacity. Every one of us here, if we're in the legal system, have that opportunity in some way. Central Louisiana Pro Bono makes that an active process by representing those who cannot afford legal services otherwise. I challenge someone, anyone, everyone, come get this award next year from me, please. And I'm going to leave you, you know, we got Debbie and we lost Becky. I had a women's caucus at my office a few years ago, just women attorneys in the Rapides area. Becky was one of those who came, along with Peggy St. John, another one of our members that we lost a few years ago. And those women told us stories of the legal process as it was back in the day. And so I'm saddened that I appreciate those ladies who paved the way for us. I'm going to leave you with the words of, I call her my spirit animal, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She said, she tells law students, if you're going to be a lawyer and just practice your profession, you have a skill, just like a plumber. But if you want to be a true professional, outside of yourself, something that makes life a little better for people less fortunate than you. That's what. Rest in peace.
And finally, this morning, we're going to present our last award, again, another annual award presented by the Alexandria Bar Association. And in the spirit of being flexible, I'm going to have to remember the factors we considered off the top of my head because I misplaced my notes. So, of course, that happened this morning. But as I recall, there were a variety of factors, and we voted, the executive committee voted on it. And I think one of the bare minimum is the recipient has to have been practicing at least 20 plus years here in the community. But among other things, we look at the contributions both to the local, state, and national bar. We look at the contributions civically to the community. And this year, the board voted and we selected Richard Arsenault. And every year we also have someone present the award to them, a close friend or family member, preferably an attorney. And this year, Richard asked that the Honorable, you may have heard his name, Kenneth Starr, former Solicitor General of the United States, former federal judge. He obviously, for obvious reasons, couldn't be here today, so you're going to be watching online. You'll be able to see it on your screen. Those here live, you can see it on the TV. So let's hear the remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Kenneth W. Starr.
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Ken Starr. I'm a friend and proud and honored to say that I'm a friend of Richard Arsenault. We've been in battle together, and I can attest, as everyone knows, this is one of the great lawyers of our time. So how fitting, how proper, how appropriate that he's being recognized in this wonderful way by his hometown bar. I think that is just so fabulous that Richard's nationwide reputation as one of the greatest lawyers of the last generation, and happily he continues, even though he's 40 years out of law school. You would think by his energy, by his dedication and so forth, he's just out, fresh into the ranks. But throughout his career, which continues to be so dynamic and so successful, he has never forgotten the great fundamentals of our profession, to always seek justice, and to do so with civility and with total integrity. Richard's integrity has been recognized by judge after judge after judge. When judges have Richard before them, and of course many have appointed him to issues of senior leadership in the nation's most complex and difficult litigation, class actions, MDLs, multi-district litigations, and so forth, you hear the same kind of theme from judges across the country. Here is a paragon of professional excellence, superb ability, and consummate professionalism. Professionalism is, in fact, Richard Arsenault. And it's why one of the many dimensions of Richard's contribution to our profession is that he is sought after by law schools, by bar associations, to be a leader, to be a lecturer, to be a mentor. And I have personally been mentored by him. I want to say one more thing about Richard, the lawyer, that I want to say about Richard, the person I suggested before. And in one very complex litigation, MDL, very difficult trials, trial after trial after trial. And we kept winning on the plaintiff's side the trial, but the defendant was not interested in settling year after year. And throughout, I never saw Richard lose his patience, lose his decency, and lose his command. I began calling him Field Marshal Arsenault because he was able to see the big picture, what had happened, what was unfolding in the courtroom, and then the implications of that ultimately for a global settlement that would redound to the interest of all of the precious clients who had been injured in this particular case. A word about Richard the person. It doesn't surprise me that he's been a leader in his church, generous to his church, carrying on both administrative responsibilities, but also the most sacred kind of responsibilities for a lay person. And then, truly one of my favorites, Richard, the soccer coach. So he wasn't too busy for those years when the children were younger to be out there on the field and being field marshal of the soccer field. So Richard, for all that you have done and are continuing to do, we're thankful for your example of professionalism, recognized including by the Louisiana Supreme Court in appointing you to very important committee memberships. How fitting that this honor comes to you, my friend, Richard Arsenault. God bless you and God bless everyone in this beautiful, beautiful occasion. Thank you.
ladies and gentlemen, we have Richard Arsenault's acceptance. We have some technical difficulties. We're trying to get it ready to go.
First of all,
here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, Richard Arsenault.
Intercessions and giving of thanks be made for all men.
I want to begin by thanking the Alexandria Bar Association for this recognition. I'd also like to thank my family and colleagues at Neblett Beard and Arsenault. Everything we do here is a team effort. In fact, our firm has a long history of involvement with the Alexandria Bar Association, with 5 members of our firm having served as president. I've been blessed to be able to practice in courts around the country. And I can say the collegiality and the professionalism in our community is second to none. The respect our bar has for the bench and the respect the bench has for our bar is refreshing. Organizations such as the American Inns of Court, which Judge Little and I started several decades ago, continue to be a model of mentoring and professionalism. And I'm proud to see it's still going strong. I want to encourage our lawyers, particularly the younger practitioners, to become active in local, state, and national bar associations. In addition to providing important and needed structure to these organizations, it advances your professional career. And perhaps most importantly, it is a life-enriching experience. For me, it's provided unique opportunities, everything from meeting with and introducing presidents of the United States to collaborating with the nation's leading academicians, jurists, and litigators. It's been an amazing networking and personal growth opportunity for which I am extraordinarily grateful. There are many wonderful opportunities to guest lecture at law schools, colleges, and grade schools. Legal publication editors are constantly looking for folks to contribute thoughtful and analytical articles. Schools are anxious to get volunteers to preside over mock trials. For me, with all of these activities, I've always walked away grateful for the experience. Again, I'm honored to receive this award, Alexandria Bar Association, for this recognition. Thank you.
As you can tell from the video, Richard could not be here due to the ongoing issues with the pandemic. But when we get to see him, we will send this over and present this award to him. Once again, if I could get a round of applause for this year's Cassiticus Award winner, Richard Arsenault. I want to thank everyone for their patience and their flexibility, as I said at the beginning, as we tried to dodge and weave through our way through this thing this morning. Before we go, Stephen Spurgeon with the Young Lawyers asked me to announce they're going to have an upcoming CLE. When is it, Stephen?
The 30th.
The 30th of this month, of October? Okay, and then they also have a costume party?
Social on the 29th.
Okay, on the 29th. So you can check your emails about that. And finally, we're going to close in prayer with the Bishop, Robert Marshall of the Diocese of Alexandria.
He's coming up in a second. His video is not playing.
Let us receive the benediction. The Lord bless you. The Lord keep you. And may he cause his face to shine upon you